Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Plain Doc. I'm joined today, once again, by Dr. Bobby Woodard. Dr. Woodard, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, AJ, for having me.
So, Dr. Woodard, you serve as the Senior Vice President for Student Affairs. What all departments does that put you in charge of?
So a lot of it is the out-of-class experience. So housing, dining, student government, Greek life, health promotion and wellness, the campus recreation and wellness center. We have student counseling and psychological services, the medical clinic, the student center that we're sitting in now, student activity center, and some of those other ones such as the out-of-class, Auburn Cares, that take care of our students in a holistic form.
Now, we are rapidly approaching 1 year of COVID-19 being, in the United States and in the state of Alabama. How has your office changed and evolved from a year ago?
So you're right. A year ago, coming up on our spring break in March, is when we made a decision to go remote. And so we had to pivot real quickly. The good thing about what we do in student affairs, we're used to pivoting because most of our audience is 18 to 22-year-olds, and they pivot very quickly. So for us, it was, how can we still deliver programs and services to our student body, which is our main purpose here on campus. So a lot of that meant that we had to go hybrid. And when we first started, it was all virtual. There weren't many people on campus. We had to wait for people to come off campus, so we made sure we had food and so forth on campus for people that couldn't go home. As we transitioned into the fall, it was preparing to have students back on campus. And we still had them back on campus, but most classes were online and or on some kind of hybrid, but we still had to have organizational stuff on campus. So we worked on how we would still have a student to get the student out of their residence hall room, out of their apartment, and have interaction in a safe manner. Well, as we start moving through the fall semester, we knew more and more about this virus so we could open up a little bit better. And so what we do is we advocate for the students in saying, how can we open up stuff but still be safe? So that's where the sentinel testing came in and how we currently have sentinel testing. Another thing we pivot is, instead of just having meals in the residence halls and, or in the dining halls, we did a meal on the go. So you can kind of pick it up and go home and put it together. So that's just some of the ways that we pivoted. Another huge way that we pivoted were that we offered, say, counseling and psychological services online, that where you can call and do that and got permission to do that online, so that we're still having being in touch with our students, but at the same time providing them with a service and programs that we have.
You bring up that your office is in charge of student counseling, and right now we're seeing that this year has really been different and has been very stressful for all Americans, but for students especially. There have been multiple studies done by the CDC and from the APA, which is the American Psychological Association, and that we're seeing just an increase in students saying, hey, they're suffering from anxiety, they're suffering from stress, and just other poor mental health illnesses. What is it that students here at Auburn can be doing? Do they need to be contacting your office? Do they need to be contacting psychological services? What can they do?
Yeah, number one is this. You got to take care of your mental well-being. And we need to figure out what is the happy spot or the smooth spot for you to do that. Each individual is different. So when we first began this, it was more about, hey, let's provide services. There's a lot of the unknown that was out there. What happens if I lose my job? How financially can we do this? We had the stress and worried about family and their health and safety, our parents back home, our grandparents back home. So we wanted to make sure we deliver those services to them at any given time. Now, as we moved through COVID and got through the fall semester, and even now, let's fast forward to now, the spring semester, about 4 weeks in, a lot of people are still worried about the COVID virus going around and the health and safety of themselves and their family members. But some people are COVID tired. If that makes any sense, is that I just want my life to go back to normal. And we know normal is not really normal for everyone. There was a lot of stuff going on in the world also, some social justice and some unrest. There was a presidential election that was kind of heated. So there was a lot going on. So for us, we want you to be able to reach out to anywhere. So first off, you can reach out to any office on this campus. It does not have to be in student affairs. They will get you in the right area. For us, you can definitely reach out to my office. in student affairs or any of the other functional areas in student affairs, but you always have the Auburn Cares office and counseling and psychological services. You reach out to them, they will get you in, we will find the resources to get you so you can talk to someone and talk through those. And so that is a big part. And here's the thing, if you are well mentally and you are well socially and physically, you'll do better inside the classroom. And we know that we've got to do our job to help you feel that and have that wellness triangle so you can succeed in the classroom at the same time. So it's a puzzle that has to be put together, and we want to make sure that we don't drop any part of that puzzle and that everybody can have the ability to see someone in a timely manner. And so that's what we try to provide.
So your office is also in charge of the campus rec, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I know there's been a lot of changes that we saw in the fall, and we're seeing those same changes right now with the rec center restricting some access to. I know weights have been restricted, and then access to basketball courts. Now I know for myself and a lot of my friends, and I think that's going to be for a lot of students. Students are wanting to go back and using those basketball courts. When will the courts open back up?
So this is a question I probably get 12 times a day because we know how popular it is. And again, I'm going to go back to that wellness triangle. You got to have that physical part of it, but also the social to talk to people. So the CDC recommends 6 feet in mask. And we know when in our campus recreation wellness center here that if you're doing physical activity, you don't have to wear a mask. We encourage a mask, but you don't have to wear it. So we're still going to maintain that 6-foot distance. Well, you can't play basketball with a 6-foot distance. And so we're trying to find a way of how we can operate at the same time. So here's a good example. Just this week, we opened up the intramural fields. And we've opened up more of our club sports to be able to condition and start to practice. We understand that is a huge portion of that. And I'm going to reach out to every student, really faculty and staff on campus. We have a sentinel testing program. It is voluntary. If you get pulled and you go in, and it takes about 8 minutes from start to finish to do this, the more those numbers, the more people we got to get in, and our positive numbers go down, the more we can open up more facilities and open up. So I highly encourage everyone to go to sentinel testing because as that percentage goes down, we can open more things up. And if you remember like we did in the fall, we started off with masks outside and inside, and about 5-6 weeks in, our numbers went down to where we were comfortable releasing the outside mask, but you still had a social distance, and you had to wear masks inside. We want to get back to that. So we want to start opening up more of our campus recreation and wellness center. And again, we opened up more this week. We opened up a little bit of the weights more. We've moved, some of the basketball courts have stationary bikes and so forth on it so we can spread out and people can work out. We want to get there, but AJ, at this time, I can't tell you an exact date that we're going to open the basketball courts, speaking specifically on the basketball courts. We want to open the rock wall at the same time, and we're doing a lot of programming, both virtually and in person. The other thing is we're still aiming to open the pool, which is another way for our students to get some laps and so forth in there around March 15th if the weather holds and so forth. So we got an idea, but we got an internal date we would like to get to, but I don't want to give it out because I don't want to give false hope until we know we can get there. Numbers go down, and the more people participate in sentinel testing, the quicker we can open the basketball courts.
So we've talked about psychological services, we've talked about the campus rec. Talking about more of the departments that you're in charge of, you're also in charge of a first-year experience. Can you tell us what the plan is as of now for Camp War Eagle and other summer programs?
Exactly. We had a little bit of a discussion early this afternoon, about what do we got to do for the summer programming and Camp War Eagle. We know that decision has to come within the next 3 weeks for the most part. So if I'm telling you today what I think will happen is I think we will try to do more in person, but we will also do a hybrid or some virtual programming. So it might be the students come for a shorter time and do in person so they actually feel at home on Auburn's campus. We feel that if we get you on campus, we've got you because it's a place that everybody can feel welcome and so forth. And so maybe the parents are only do it virtual. So we're working on how we're going to do that. I would say at this point it's going to be a hybrid, but it will be some in person than we had last year, this past summer, because I think the vaccine will kick in. I think some more people, social distancing, will know more about this virus. So we want to do more in person, and also for summer programs in general. I know academically we're going to offer a lot online because that went really well last year in the summer, because you can do an internship in Birmingham or Charlotte, North Carolina, or Atlanta and still take classes and pursue towards a degree. So I think we'll do that, but for programming specifically, I think we'll do a more in-person on here on our campus.
Now, last semester, the university and yourself stated in our last interview that there were certain dorms that were being set aside for students that were living on campus, but were having to quarantine, whether they tested positive or have come into close contact with the virus. Are there still dorms as of right now that are set aside for quarantining?
We do. We still have 3 residence halls, the same residence halls that we had in the fall. Graves, Hall M, and Leasechuck are still set aside for quarantine and isolation residence halls. And we will continue that. I can go ahead and tell you that I think we had 10 students this morning that were in there total. And of course that fluctuates every day because someone's coming in, somebody's going out, and so forth. So, but we still do have those 3 halls, and we still provide meal service for them. And when our students go into the residence halls, we still want to make sure they might be isolating, but they're not by themselves. In other words, we'll check on them and make sure we have people checking in. Auburn Cares checks in on them and so forth. But we still do have the 3 same residence halls we had in the fall.
So I know we've talked about this throughout this interview. Stuff looks different now than it does a year ago. But there's still some stuff that has stayed the same. Students are still able to get involved. Your office being in charge of student involvement, what are some of the ways that students can still get involved?
We try to do, you have the green screen or the red screen that you have in the health check. We're doing more in-person programming now so that, we'll check your screen to make sure it's a green screen before you come in, and we'll social distance. But we want to keep you involved. As you and I talked earlier, AJ, in this interview, is that we want to make sure that whole person is felt in here. We want to make sure you still feel connected and you're not isolated. We do not want you to be isolated. So we're still going to do more programs on campus. We're looking to see if we can do a movie in the stadium again, like we did in the fall, because that's a big place. You can social distance over there. I know Dance Marathon had the first NICU rescue squad on campus yesterday that they helped pay for on that. So little programming, not massive events. If we do massive events, it'd be like the movie in the stadium where we can really spread people out. We continue to program for our students here so they'll have something to do. They always don't have to go downtown or go outside of campus to really feel connected to each other. But you'll be required to wear a mask. I mean, that's not going anywhere. You will be required to wear a mask where you go, and we know that, but we can still participate and socialize with each other.
Is there anything else that you would like to add and say to the students and to our viewers?
Look, first thing I want to say is thank you. You've bought in. You're part of the Auburn community. You want us to be healthy. You want us to be safe, and you want things to get back to normal. We do also. If you continue to wear your mask, as we've asked, it will help us get there no matter what the virus does, because that helps stops it. But one of the number one things I would ask you to do is participate in sentinel testing. That right there tells us what our community has, who has it, and the percentage of it, so we know when we can open things up. The more data we have in that, the quicker we can go back to normal. That would be like what I want the students to understand, the importance of sentinel testing.
Well, Dr. Woodard, thank you for sitting down with us, but that is all the time that we have today for Plain Talk. For all of you watching at home, be sure to follow us on all our social media at Eagle Eye TV, and check out our website at eagleeyeauburn.com to stay up to date with all Auburn news. I'm AJ Rivera, and War Eagle.